Long time ago, it was 3 years ago, I think. I remember your podcast. You gave a podcast which was called Touch the Forgotten Sense. And it really affected me deeply, coming from the aspect of working with touch, but I was moving for years now into working more with children, not doing just sheer shiatsu in clinical practice or in teaching it. And the idea of redefining human connection in our digital world. So how we relate to each other and to ourselves and how we relate to others. So right now, with all the pandemic that is going on and the project being stopped as a result of it last year, and having to go inward and actually transforming a lot of the ideas of it and working on materials and so on. So that's been a very important process for me, because I feel we're at a very important point in human evolution. I feel with all the digital socialization that's going on and the touch hunger that is in society, the question I have now is really, what are the psychosocial consequences of this collective touch hunger? There's another really curious question I have, and that is the paradox of this pandemic is, on the one hand, our immune system strengthens by touch and our well-being strengthens by touch.
I know.
There's so much research about that. We are stronger, we are healthier, we are happier when we're being touched because we're social creatures. And now this pandemic is doing exactly the opposite to us. It's even limiting in us more. So there is a double effect of it. I mean, I've been doing things online with students, with people of doing self-touch and doing self-exercises. And that has been very helpful to quite a few people, and their energy went up and their self-esteem went up and they're more motivated. And obviously the whole digital world is helping us to socialize, in inverted commas, when there is lockdown and so on. But yes, what are the effects of all this? How can we mitigate the consequences?
So everything you say is as clear as crystal to me. I mean, you know what you're talking about. And you know that what's happening in terms of this touchless world that we're moving into, that there are likely to be repercussions that none of us have yet really taken on board because nobody really knows the mechanism. I do. It's like being deficient in a vitamin. If you didn't know that vitamin was there, you wouldn't know how to put it right. And I think we have exactly the same argument to make with affective touch. We now know the vitamin. We know that if you don't get enough of that supplement, it will be deleterious to your health. So that's the analogy.
Yes.
Very few people know about this nerve fiber, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that was a real discovery for me. That was great when I shared it with...
Yeah, but the people that get it, it changes their lives because they finally have something real to hang on to that justifies what they instinctively knew beforehand. But the neuroscience gives it credibility.
Yes.
But, the challenge now is to get this message out there, almost like missionaries.
It makes us human. Touch makes us human. And if they take that away, I just wonder, with tuned out mums and digital socialization, what's going to happen to our next generation and how this will affect teaching and learning.
The one country where we could actually look at data is in Sweden. No Swedish school child left school at all throughout the pandemic. They all carried their normal schooling on as if the pandemic didn't exist. It would be really interesting to look at the stress levels in that population of children compared to those that were homeschooled and removed from their environment. It would be interesting to look at.
Okay.
The Swedes got it right in terms of the children's education, but this hysteria over closing schools was just pointless.
Yes, I agree.
The only person that needed to be protected was the teacher.
Yes.
Kids, by and large, there's been very few evidence of any child dying through COVID unless they had some clear a serious health condition in any case.
Yes. But what I notice and what I observe in the children are so good. The other day, there was a big criticism in Facebook of an organization in relation to education, because of the minister here in Spain was saying, you know, our children are our heroes. And this teacher organization was basically saying, what do you mean our children are our heroes? Are you aware what they are going through? They are not heroes, they are victims.
Yeah.
But what I feel with the children as well, with whom I am, they are coming in small groups and so on. They won't take off their mask for a second, not even if I take them to nature. I do workshop up in the mountain, you know, crafty things and all that. There is some distancing between them. They do some sport. They don't take the mask off. They're so conditioned now. They're so conditioned now that
that is so sad.
They feel fearful of taking it
off.
Yeah. So the consequences on the mind, I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, these things, as you pointed out, they can resonate. You know, these brains are still wiring up, and they're still creating, you know, little personalities. And
well, Mr. McMahon, I have one more question. I mean, we haven't really gone too deeply into this, but I'm very aware of the whole topic of touch and the necessity of it. And could you tell me something about the difference between the slow and fast CT afferents? Because I've concentrated more on the digits because, you know, I'm working with my hands a lot. I do a lot of haptic stuff with the kids and all that. Could you clarify that for me, please?
All right. Well, what we know from our research is that there are two systems in the skin coding for touch. There's a fast system and there's a slow system.
Mm.
The fast system in evolutionary time is more recent. And it depends upon fast transmission along nerve fibers that are myelinated. A myelinated nerve transmits information to the central nervous system in tens of milliseconds. So if a fly landed on your nose, you'd feel it instantly. That's fast touch. Its purpose is discrimination. That something's touched you. It has no emotional overtones to it at all. It's just discrimination. The body parts where most of these fast touch nerve fibers are the glabra skin of the hands, the digits, perioral regions.
That relates then to the homunculus, no?
Yeah, the homunculus. So that's the discriminative map of your body and your brain, where far more cortex is allocated to the fingers and to the face because you've got more receptors there.
Yeah.
Now, the slow touch system was only discovered in humans in the 1990s by a Swedish neurophysiologist, and the slow touch receptors are connected to unmyelinated nerves. So when these receptors are stimulated, the information isn't sensed, it's felt. Now that distinction is underpinned by the C fibers that respond to gentle touch map into brain areas that are interested in processing emotion, and not the homunculus, which is all about this. So the C tactile afferents that code for this pleasant feeling of touch are mapped into brain areas that are involved in homeostatic state, stress, control, regulating your emotional state. Now, the easiest way to explain those two systems functionally is taking the C fiber that codes for pain, the nociceptor. And as I've said, there are two pain systems, a fast one and a slow one. If you stub your toe or put your finger on a hot plate accidentally, the fast pain system pulls you away, without you having to think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's discriminative. The pain is not emotional. It's just a pricking, you know, you go, oh, shit, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've ever done that, stubbed your toe, you know, touched the hot plate, you know when you pull back with that little stinging ouch, that in a second or two, boomf, boomf, boomf,
Mm-hmm.
yeah? In a second or two, the emotional baggage of that pain. And you know it may be there for a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Fibers, that's the C fiber information getting into your emotional brain a couple of seconds after the event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think exactly the same response we see with touch. So somebody sort of, you know, just gently touches your back, you feel the touch immediately. And this is where context clearly matters, but there's a, you know, there's a kind of a, you feel good. Yeah, the emotional thing, it's not as clear as the pain one, where you get that very clear, burning emotional thing. So it's more subtle, but it regulates your well-being. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
after a touch, a gentle touch. You know, there's many examples. You know, there's the famous Midas touch. If a waiter
Yes.
giving you the bill just gently touches you,
Yes.
you're nicer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same like a teacher doing that to the
Absolutely. There was a very good delayed gratification study done in America, I think, where one group of kids, when they were given the instructions to not eat a sweet, you know, but basically the teacher basically just, when they told them, just inadvertently, no big deal, yeah, just boom. Another group weren't touched at all. And the group that were touched were far more compliant in delaying the gratification.
Very interesting, that is, yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here, Rita, is this is no psycho nonsense, yeah? This is a nerve fiber doing what it evolved to do,
Yes.
regulating your mental affected state and making you more socially engaged. Because when these nerve fibers are stimulated, you have no control over the consequences, yeah? Oxytocin is released.
Yeah.
Mu opioids binding increases, cortisol levels are lowered, heart rate is lowered, your stress levels are far more managed. Yep. So all of these consequences are because of that.
Yes.
Yeah?
Fantastic. Yes.
And of course, that's not been happening that much for the last 13, 14 months, you know, because of the pandemic. So yeah, I mean, I think we can predict that there may be some topping up needs to be done. Yeah, don't sit these kids in classrooms trying to fill their brains with nonsense. They should be out there wilding, playing, building their social networks, you know, basically re-engaging with each other. You know, the wonderful lady I work with, Jean Barlow, who trains this peer-to-peer touch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. Yeah. It's like taking your vitamins. Yeah.
Yes.
One child, you'll know about, you know, one child basically just, you know, draws on the back of the other child. You know, she's got lots of different games, but she knew nothing about this nerve fiber. But she knew as a teacher that this changes a child's behavior.
Yes.
It builds reciprocity. It allows the child to recognize that touch needs permission. Yeah.
Yes.
So not anybody can touch you, your friend. Yeah.
Yeah. It teaches respect. Yes.
It teaches respect. It teaches them to be aware that, you know, that touch is something that they need to acquiesce to.
Yes.
So they're learning that if they do come across some inappropriate toucher, they're aware that, no, I haven't given you permission. You know,
yes. It teaches awareness. And what I like about it as well is it changes the whole feel in the classroom, the feeling of one to another. It just calms down.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it has an amazing effect.
Yes. Absolutely.
These children actually, they see the other kid getting it. You look at their little faces, you know, they love it.
And what I notice as well is that children after that, they are much more motivated and much more eager to learn because something in them feels securer. They feel at ease in the classroom. They feel in an environment they feel cared for. And that makes learning so much joyful. So the motivation rises. And this is what the study I did at the school, what happened then. The groups I worked with, they had much better results. They developed a better social behavior. And when the two halves were together again, they brought up the overall level in the class as well. But what
what are we, what are we bloody arguing about? Yeah, this is the food they have at lunchtime. Yeah, this isn't arbitrary. Yeah, this isn't, we're going to do a wacky bit of touching because the hippies say it's good. No, this is absolutely fundamental for these children's well-being.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I wanted to hear that.